Something is happening right now, and most people haven't noticed it yet. Not because it's invisible, but because it doesn't look like a crisis. There are no sudden collapses, no constant breaking news forcing people to stop and pay attention. Instead, something slower is unfolding. The system isn't breaking overnight. It's changing quietly, piece by piece. And the most dangerous part about slow change is that people adapt to it. They normalize it, until one day, what once felt wrong starts to feel completely normal. Over the last few years, things started to feel different. Prices rising faster than expected, daily life becoming more expensive, opportunities feeling less stable than before. At first it seemed temporary, just another cycle, something that would eventually correct itself. But now, patterns are starting to appear, and patterns are never random. This isn't just happening in one country, it's happening everywhere. Different economies, different systems, different governments, but very similar outcomes. And when multiple systems begin shifting in the same direction, at the same time, it raises a serious question. Is this coincidence or something bigger? History gives us a pattern. Every major transformation starts quietly. Before systems evolve, they begin to weaken in small ways, almost invisible at first. Small cracks, subtle inconsistencies, changes that don't seem urgent until they become impossible to ignore. Think about past economic crises. They didn't begin with panic. They began with confidence, a belief that everything was stable, that everything was under control. Decisions were made, policies were introduced, systems were adjusted, and everything looked fine, until suddenly, it wasn't. And by the time people realized what was happening, it was already too late to react. Now look at today. More control over financial systems, more structure, more monitoring of how money moves. At the same time, people feel like they have less control, not in an obvious way, but in subtle ways. Small limitations, small restrictions, small changes that slowly reshape behavior. And over time, those small changes become the new normal. This creates pressure, because when systems become more controlled, individual flexibility becomes more limited, not instantly, but gradually, so slowly that most people don't notice it happening until one day it's already part of their reality. And by then, it feels normal. And here's the uncomfortable question. What if this isn't just random? What if this isn't just poor management? What if the system isn't breaking, but transforming into something else? Not necessarily worse, but fundamentally different. More structured, more predictable, more controlled. Less room for error, less room for freedom, less room for independence. History shows that changes like this don't happen overnight. They happen step by step, quietly, gradually, without resistance. Because when change is slow, people don't react. They adapt. And the people who notice early are always the ones who benefit the most. Because in every major shift, timing is everything. Those who understand what's happening early position themselves differently. They think differently. They act differently. They move before everyone else. And those who ignore the signs are forced to react later. And reacting late is always more expensive. So now think about this. Are we watching a slow transformation happening right in front of us? Or something even bigger that most people still don't understand? Because one thing is clear. Something is changing. Not loudly, not dramatically, but consistently. And this time, it's happening quietly. And by the time it becomes obvious, it may already be too late to do anything about it.